Hi, my name is Emmanuel Abramovitz, and I will be teaching a class called The Amazing Sound and Legacy of the Brill Building. It will be on Mondays at 9:30, starting on October 6th. The Amazing Sound and Legacy of the Brill Building is about that fantastic period in New York when a bunch of fantastic songwriters, fantastic musical talents like Neil Sedaka, Carole King, Burt Bacharach, Neil Diamond, Phil Spector, and many others were behind the greatest hits ever written until that time. Songs with social consciousness, like Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, which presented for the first time a female perspective on the role of women in society. But many, many other great songs of those years, like Be My Baby, Locomotion, You've Lost That Loving Feeling. You've Lost That Loving Feeling, for example, is the most successful song ever written, according to the amount of times that it was played on American radio. Other songs on Broadway, Twist and Shout. Everyone thinks that Twist and Shout was written by the Beatles, but it was written by the people from the Brill Building period. Save the Last Dance for Me, for example. So stand by us, stand by me, and join us for this class. I think it's an amazing topic. The great sound and legacy of the Brill Building on Mondays at 9:30, starting on October 6th. So see you online.
Hi, my name's John Grogan. Actually, my first name is Leo, but I go by John. And I've been teaching OSHA courses across the country for the past 3 or 4 years. I teach at 8 different programs, so I'm happy to be teaching at Florida State. I think this is the first time I've taught this course at Florida State, which is root hog or die. Root hog or die is an idiomatic expression that was actually used by Patton in World War II. It essentially means we're on our own. This is when he was being bottled up at the Battle of the Bulge, and they really didn't know which way the battle was going to go. So he came up with that expression, and it's been actually used before. So he was a student of history, so he understood that. So the purpose of the course is to look at 5 different military incidents, battles that happened in throughout history. And the reason I'm teaching this course is I'm a retired military officer, I'm a retired Marine officer, and I've got a PhD in American history. So I've got a little bit of both, I sort of left brain and right brain. I've always been interested in the topic. Behind me, you can actually see one of the battles I actually cover, which is the Battle of Little Bighorn. But I also cover the Battle of the Alamo. I cover Isla Luana, which is in Vietnam, Okinawa, and then finally the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, which is also in Southeast Asia. Now, I've been to all those places except to Dien Bien Phu. I've been to the Alamo, although the Alamo now is sort of set amidst San Antonio, so you have to sort of imagine what it might have been like. I've been to Little Bighorn. That's the image I have behind me. Isla Luana, which is in South Africa, which was a battle between the Zulu and the British forces under Lord Chelmsford. Okinawa, where I was stationed for a little over a year, so I had a chance to get a feel for the island and what the battle might have been like. And the Dien Bien Phu, which I say is in Vietnam, current day Vietnam, North Vietnam, near the Cambodian border. I hope to visit that next year. Anyway, I teach this class. I've taught it 3 or 4 times in the past. I use an awful lot of videos in my class. And this is not necessarily to say, well, this is exactly the way things happen, but videos, from popular TV and movie shows to TV shows and movies can dramatize an event better than I can explain it. And then I always tell people Hollywood history isn't history, but if it can show you how the battle might have been fought and how the participants may have interacted with one another and with the enemy, then I think it probably works. Like I said, I've taught this course before. I look forward to teaching it again at Florida State. Thanks very much.
Hey everybody, my name's Nick Santamaria. I've been teaching for OLLI for about 7 years now, and I have about 15 different courses that I teach, and they're all based on vintage show business. It's my passion, it's my life. I'm a performer. I've been on Broadway a few times. I've been in movies, on television, whatever, and I feel qualified to teach a course called Music to Your Ears, the History of the American Musical Film, from Busby, Berkeley, all the way up to Vincent Minelli. So I'm going to show you who the very first producer of a musical actually was. It was Thomas Edison. That's right. Well, we're going to talk about all of the changes through the years, all of the developments, the most important people to the American musical. Actually, Busby Berkeley and Fred Astaire were the two most important. But we're going to be looking at those two guys. We're going to be looking at Judy Garland, Gene Kelly, Eleanor Powell, you name it. And every day or every Monday at 12:15 from 1:45 till 1:45, excuse me, from October 6th till November 10th, you will be waking up to the most glorious music, the most beautiful dancing, and this is what people tell me about this course. This is their favorite because it makes them feel so good. So join me. Let's all feel good together. I'll see you on October 6th. Thank you very much.
Greetings, my beloved soulflowers. Before we dive in, can I ask you a question? Are you a human being or a human doing? Sit with that for a little bit. I want you to now think about how much we do from day to day versus how many times we just have a chance to be, to sit and simply be, and to be with Mother Earth. My name is Dr. Chris Omni, and I am considered the Black Joy Scholar. My dissertation was recognized internationally by the International Association of Autoethnography and Narrative Inquiry, and it's based on nature engagement and its improvement of Black women's health. But I am now taking the findings from my research to bring it into OLLI for a class just for you. And as an educator with probably 10 years in higher, 10, 11 years in higher education, 25 years in public health, I'm going to present this to you as the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So, who? I already told you. My name is Dr. Chris Omni. What? This is a 6-week course offered through OLLI starting October 6th at 1:30, that's Central Time, and 2:30 Eastern Time. And the name of the course is Conversations with Nature, tapping into the messages of Mother Earth. So we have the who, we have the what, we have the when, the where. It's online. So when you register, you will get a link to this online course offered through Zoom. And most importantly, and to save a lot of time for this, the why and a little bit of the what. In this class, you're going to be experiencing what I call the Omni process. It is a 5-step nature engagement relationship where you can tap into your senses through the art of eco-mindfulness. You get to engage in picture taking because my PhD is in art education. I could not let you experience nature and not have some type of art element to it. You also get to engage in a love letter exercise. You can write a letter to yourself, you can write a letter to Mother Earth, but that's how you're going to incorporate all of this learning. And then the front end and back end of that is asking yourself a very serious question. One is, how did I get here? And the end is, where do I go from here? So my name is Dr. Chris Omni, and I look forward to being your tour guide on this 6-week adventure of self and surroundings. See you then.
Hi, I'm Dr. Della Scott Ireton. I'm a maritime archaeologist with the Florida Public Archaeology Network and an alumna of Florida State University. So I'm very pleased and proud to be part of this program. I invite you to join me and hear about a little-known episode of our nation's history. So before the English settled Jamestown and before the Spanish settled St. Augustine, the harbor of Pensacola, Florida was targeted by Spanish authorities as the perfect place to establish a town on the northern Gulf Coast, to stake their claim on what they were quickly learning was a vast landmass that we call North America. Only a few weeks after they got here, though, the fleet of ships and the settlement, led by Don Tristan de Luna, were irreparably damaged by a violent hurricane that sunk most of the ships of the fleet and also sunk the chances for success of the colony. In recent years, 3 of Luna's ships have been discovered in Pensacola Bay and been the targets of archaeological investigations. And the settlement site was discovered on a nearby promontory of land. So join me on Monday, November the 3rd, 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern, for Luna by Land and Sea, an exploration of the history of this ill-fated settlement attempt, as well as an exciting archaeology that's happening both on land and underwater. See you then.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rima Nathan, and I am the director of the Claude Pepper Elder Law Clinic, which is housed over at FSU's law school. I'll be teaching Know Your Rights as You Age, which is Tuesdays from 9:30 to 11. I have taught this class before, so if you recognize me and you recognize that name title, you are correct that it has been offered before. We'll be covering a lot of similar topics, but we'll also have some new guest speakers. So whether you've taken it before or you're taking it for the first time, this will still be an informative course for you. We're going to go over a lot of the basics of legal things that are helpful to know as you go through the aging process and through life. We'll talk about advanced healthcare directives like durable powers of attorney and why those can be really important. We'll also talk about guardianship, and we have a local attorney who specializes in guardianship who's going to join us too to chat about that. And then we'll kind of also talk about financial exploitations and some financial exploitation and common scams that we're seeing, which are changing every month. They're developing in new and different ways. So I'm going to try to give y'all the most up-to-date information on what we're seeing on that front. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions. So I know a lot of these issues can be really specific to everyone's unique circumstances and family situations and health situations. And so at the beginning of class, we're going to have overviews of all these broad topics, but I'm going to really try to leave time to kind of see what kind of questions y'all have in this sphere and either answer those things for you in class or try and connect you with attorneys who may be able to give you a more specific answer, whether that's in Tallahassee or Panama City or Miami. We would love to be a resource for all of your aging questions in general. So if you're interested in being prepared, this is the class for you.
For thousands of years, art has reflected societal beliefs, behaviors, and the control exerted by our systems of power. Throughout history, images created by humans have influenced our perceptions of these power systems, from the spiritual realm to the socio-political realm. But today, as new technology exponentially evolves, it is reshaping humanity's collective cultural canvas. Together, in our course, Artificial Intelligence and Art, we will discover that AI is hardly as new as it seems, and while creating fascinating possibilities, it so too comes with profound ethical dilemmas. Through world-renowned artists who have been using AI for, as we will see, in some cases, decades, we will examine together the social impact and cultural shifts that are ushering in an age of transformation. Join us starting Tuesday, October 7th at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for this engaging course, Artificial Intelligence and Art, as we explore a new world of possibility that is both fascinating and frightening. Thank you.
Everyone, my name is Michael Lyons. I'm a writer and I've written on film and film history, and I'm excited to be back once again with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute for my new course, which is entitled Back to Bedford Falls, All About It's a Wonderful Life. And so, as the title suggests, this 3-week course will celebrate director Frank Capra's classic film, The Story of a Man Named George Bailey, who gets to see what life would be like without him, thanks to an angel named Clarence, and discovers that it truly is a wonderful life. The course will actually begin with the story, The Greatest Gift, that inspired It's a Wonderful Life, and then we'll delve into the production of the film and how director Capra cast such stars as Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed, Lionel Barrymore, and many more, how they built this amazing set that became Bedford Falls, and how in the middle of a California heat wave, they created a snowstorm for the film's finale. We're also going to look at how the copyright of the film lapsed and it fell into public domain, which actually allowed the film to gain even more popularity. We'll also talk about how It's a Wonderful Life influenced many other movies. We will discuss the town in upstate New York that is the real-life Bedford Falls. We'll talk about its impact on pop culture, the many parodies of It's a Wonderful Life, what it means to so many people, and how it's become such a solid part of how we celebrate the holiday season. So I look forward to you joining me for Back to Bedford Falls, all about It's a Wonderful Life on Tuesdays, October 28th, November 4th, and November 18th from 2:30 to 4 Eastern Time. Thanks, and I'll see you then. And remember, every time a bell rings, an angel gets their wings.
Hi, my name is Greg Ehrbar. I've been a professional writer for almost 50 years. An author. My latest book, Hanna-Barbera, The Recorded History, is the sole winner for this year's Peter C. Rollins Book Award, which has to do with analyzing cultural and historical representations in film, television, and or other visual media. But we're not going to talk about that book in this class. We're going to talk about this book, A Christmas Carol by, oh, there it is, ooh, Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol is considered the most frequently adapted literary classic of all time, especially in media. We're going to look at movies and television, a little bit of radio, a little bit of recordings, and we're going to look at that great story that captured the spirit of Christmas. Some people feel established the spirit of Christmas and its traditions. We're going to meet the Cratchits and the Ghosts and Little Tiny Tim and Jacob Marley and all those. And we're going to actually, a couple of things that are not usually discussed. First of all, the fact that Dickens himself would go on tour and read a special version of his own book, and was very popular as a public speaker, and that ties into later on where Patrick Stewart would do the exact same thing, and that's also recorded. So this book, which really was not much more than a novella, it's a short novel. We're going to look at as many filmed, televised, and animated versions of A Christmas Carol that I can possibly fit into 3 weeks of 90-minute sessions. We're going to do it in a kind of a cool way. I'm going to stitch together the story for each class complete, but it's going to be made up of various sequences from the various versions. We're going to look at the magic lanterns, which were one of the before movies. There was magic lantern shows in theaters, and then the silent films. Notably Seymour Hicks, who played Scrooge on stage and then was one of the first actors to play him in the motion pictures. We're going to look at the Hollywood versions, the British versions, the silent versions, and we'll also spend a few minutes looking at things that were inspired by Christmas Carol. I mean, the word Scrooge is part of our language, but there's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which Dr. Seuss himself said basically was Scrooge. There's an episode of Bewitched where there's a client who has to learn his lesson by the end and not be so businesslike. We're going to look at actors like Albert Finney and George C. Scott, Alan Young, Basil Rathbone, of course, Mr. Magoo, famous actor. And so all I ask you to do is grab some eggnog out of the great big bowl and sing a song of gladness and cheer with me for one of the most beloved stories of every time. This will be a celebration, a lot of fun. And it's called Dickens' Christmas Carol in Movies and Television, and it's coming to you on Wednesdays from October 7th through 21st at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so I hope to join you in this fun. And but until then, I simply have to say, thank you very much. That's the nicest thing you ever done for me. And look to see you there.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Jean O'Con, and I teach psychology at the Florida State University. And I'm excited to teach the OLLI class on choosing peace over stress, handling stress in today's society. It will start on Tuesday, October 21st for 3 consecutive weeks, starting at 5:30 Central Time and 6:30 Eastern Time. In this class, we're going to discuss several topics related to stress, including the biology of how humans are affected by stress. For example, we'll review information from the Mayo Clinic on how stress affects our immune systems. It's really important to review the pattern of stress from childhood to adulthood to understand how this influences human development. In addition, the American Psychological Association publishes an annual report called Stress in America, and this will provide a lot of information for our discussion. Importantly, we need to recognize how stress affects us physically in order to develop better ways of coping. Then we will discuss strategies for handling stress. Of course, we know that individuals are different in using those strategies and how effective they can be in handling stress. We'll talk about several different approaches along with recommendations for looking ahead to the future. For example, one recommendation is take control of your environment. If the evening news makes you anxious, turn off the TV. You can't always control the narrative. So some strategies are simple while others take time to develop. We'll also look at some advice from Maya Angelou. She has some really great advice about avoiding anger and choosing peace in life. And she makes some beautiful statements on that topic. So I look forward to being with those of you who select this Zoom class and join me in this important discussion. It can be really beneficial for our long-term health and happiness. Please remember it's 5:30 Central Time and 6:30 Eastern Time on Tuesday evenings. Thank you.
Dr. Mark Douglas here, and I am an author of middle grade and young adult fiction novels. My novel, Curse of the Terracotta Warriors, it's a Maddie Jones mystery, book 1. It's all about Maddie and her brothers. Their dad is kidnapped, and the only way to save them is to uncover the mysteries of the ancient terracotta warriors of China. The sequel, Grave of Robin Hood, is all about Maddie accidentally blowing up her dad's museum, and in the ashes, they find an iron box that leads to a treasure hunt in the Grave of Robin Hood. These are excellent novels for all kinds of readers because I find inspiration from history and I crank it up to 11. The workshop that I'll be teaching for the OLLI Institute will be at the Ohana Institute in Panama City, 5 to 6:30 Central Time, 6 to 7:30 Eastern Time, and it's called Think Like an Author. Because writing is more about just putting words on a page. It's about crafting compelling characters, immersive settings, and gripping plots while mastering the art of storytelling. This series will guide aspiring writers through the key elements of fiction, from developing unforgettable characters to navigating the publishing world. Whether you're a seasoned writer or just starting, you'll gain the tools to think like an author and bring your stories to life. I hope to see you there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Toni Kirkwood Tucker, retired Associate Professor FSU in Teacher Education. I'd like to welcome you to listen to what I will teach. The name of the course is The United Nations, a forum laboring for peace among nations. And the course will be offered in the Red Hills Retirement Center, starting October 9 through November 13, 6 weeks on Thursdays, from 2:30 to 4:15. Please consider attending. Okay. The United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, is an international organization founded in 1945 after World War II by 51 countries committed to maintain international peace and security and develop friendly relationships among nations and promote social progress and human rights. This 6 weeks course will address the origin, mission, efforts, branches, and the systems of specialized committees and agencies of the United Nations, its founding and membership, its famous documents of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Convention of the Rights of the Child. The historical precedents of the 1864 Geneva Convention and the 1899 and 1907 Den Haag Convention regarding the conduct of warfare will be explored. The UN global reach on a broad scale of fundamental issues will be analyzed, and I will talk about sustainable development, the environment, refugee protection, disaster relief, that the UN is very strongly involved, clearing landmines, even to this day, ladies and gentlemen, gender equality, advancement of women, economic and social development, and international health, including education. This course will also implore increasing criticism of the United Nations as to its policy, its ideology, its equality of representation, ability to enforce rulings, ideological bias, and moral relativism. And also, critics talk about the inefficiency of the body's behavior, conduct regarding preemptive measures and the de-escalation of existing conflicts. The course will conclude with the preeminent presence of no other than our First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt at the United Nations, who will play a big role as the chair of the Human Rights Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time I have. Please listen to it again and you will not be disappointed. Come and attend my class on Thursdays from October 6th for 6 weeks. Thank you so very much.
Hi, I'm Marnie Richards, and this term I'm teaching chair yoga in person on Thursdays in the morning, 9:30 to 10:30 at Dragonfly Yoga Studio, which is off of Appalachian Parkway. I always like to start by reminding people that chair yoga is absolutely real yoga. We use the chair as a prop or a tool like other props in yoga. So we start off sitting for breathing and centering. We stay sitting to start warming up. We can use the chair during the practice as an option to some standing poses if people prefer, and you can use it any time to sit down if you need to rest. We also use the chair then for support, for balance with standing. So a sturdy chair can help as we step into standing poses, like turn into a warrior two pose, to hold the chair. You can keep one hand on the chair. If you're feeling steady, you can move both hands off the chair. It could be true for all our poses. You might feel that you need a little more support. For some poses, you want something a little steadier for other poses. So during the practice, we will have, our practice will all contain the elements of yoga. There'll be breathing, centering, focusing, both at the beginning and throughout the practice, that calling attention to our physical presence in the space, helping with mindfulness and focusing. We'll work on strength, flexibility, balance. We'll always return to the chair at the end of the practice, getting a little cushion to make it a little more comfortable, and spend a few moments just resting and breathing before we end the class. So the benefit of a class in person is that we get to share the practice with other people. And we have time for questions, for one-to-one attention and feedback. So people often find the in-class experience really beneficial. We've moved the class to mornings this time, kind of by request, people wanting to start out their day. So I hope that you can join us at 9:30 to 10:30 on Thursday mornings, and we'll have 6-week session. Thanks so much.